Good evening, campers. It's me, Kira. Today we are going to talk about Laline Paull's Pod. Pod is the story of a dolphin told from the perspective of a dolphin. And you know what? This review is going to be a little bit different. I was recently on a live stream, and in a very laissez-faire way, I kind of said everything that I needed to say on this book. So, roll it!
Pod!
Thoughts on Pod. This is the thing that everybody has been waiting for. This is why everyone's here. We want to know.
I finished it in 2 days. Pretty indifferent about it. From the perspective of the dolphin. So I think there's going to be two camps of people. There's going to be people who don't buy into that in any way, shape, or form. But equally, at the same time, you don't know, well, just like Laline Paull, how a dolphin perceives the world. There's also going to be people who are going to buy into it. However, I think what people are going to buy into the most is the messaging of the book, which I think is uniquely rubbish. Like if you are in any way inclined, like climate savvy, you don't need to read this. I equally think some people are going to go into what I like to call the Peterson lobster hypothesis, which is where Jordan, I've not read Jordan Peterson's book before anyone asks me. He wrote a book talking about the neuroscience of lobsters and how it's very similar to humans. And apparently everyone rose off their armchairs and went, I know everything about lobsters. I don't know everything about lobsters. I don't know much about cephalopods. So in regards to what is going on here, I can imagine there's going to be people like, well, actually, dolphins wouldn't do that in that situation. I don't particularly care. I don't particularly know. To say that a dolphin never once has spun a little bit weird, or maybe it's just a little bit sexier than the other ones. I don't know. I think at the end, I think if there was a soundtrack of Do the Propeller by The Wiggles, it would have made it 10 out of 10. And if they are to do a film of it, I want Emma Wiggle doing the propeller at the end as it fades to black. I think the blurb is horrendous. I think the Ghibli cricket Ramata. Alice is like, what's he talking about? I'm off. Right, but I think that part of it was interesting, and to have the body sucker kind of navigate the story mostly on the shark, so he's able to like navigate these. He's a bit worldly. I think Google was quite interesting. I mean, was I expecting train spotting for dolphins? No. But I did quite like that element. I like how Paull is kind of muddying the waters of, like, we know it's a boat, but again, it's kind of like finding email, like, they touched the butt, and everyone's like, oh, but then you can see it, and you can't really do that with words, so it's kind of like, a metal beast. So it's not hard to put two and two in. I don't know. I had more emotional response from the South Park episode where they think that the orca, if you're impressed by the messaging on this, I don't know what you've been doing with your time. This isn't new. I can appreciate what Paull is doing. What I would expect a dolphin-based story is to be, I think is fine. Simon Savage said it was bleak. Well, he messaged me and said it's bleaker than A Little Life. Did you read A Little Life? This wasn't. Was it like Pornhub for clams? Not really. The dolphins, I kind of know that they have a propensity to not ask for consent. So again, there's a bit of me that's like, yeah, I kind of know that. Maybe if you don't know that, maybe it's a bit like. I would say also with EA, unsure how to say it, but I want to say yay, which does remind me of South Park and Kanye West. So all I had was the character of it, Yay, being Kanye West going through the sea. I don't know who I would recommend it to. If this was in the YA section, I'd kind of go with it.
Even with all this the trauma.
Have you read Akatar?
No.
Ooh, thrust my moist sex in your clam. It's like, whoa, okay. My wife's read it, and she's like, teenagers read this. I think if this was in the YA section, I think I would be fine. I think there's a bit of distancing because it's animals. Maybe that's speciesist. There's going to be a vegan who's going to kick off at me, but I don't care enough about animals than I do humans. Sorry about that. We've literally been talking about what meat to put on a pizza, people. You know who we are. So there's kind of like a removed substance from it. And I think if you can watch a David Attenborough documentary, of which everyone from most ages can, I think you would be of the mind of okay, I kind of understand what's going on here.
I can see what you're saying, because the first bit I read, I thought seemed kind of melodramatic / a little bit.
I don't know. I think
it's very easy to read. it's very simple. I think in regards to that, I have to give my fair dues to Paul. I could see a 16, 17-year-old reading that and being really impressed. I would then venture off into something else and get a lot more than 28-year-old Kieran, who has watched Walking Phoenix's Earthlings, I think it's called. Wonderful documentary. But if you're not sold by this is narrated by a dolphin, I'm not entirely sure what's going to sell you on this.
Yeah.
I think the topic in which is being discussed is worthwhile. I'm unsure what the audience is. It straddles that line in the same way the Shuggy Bane does, which I think commercially this will do really well, because you'll have people being like, a story told from a dolphin. It's about climate fiction, which I don't think that many people are reading. And I think the concept works, and I think it aids Paul in what she wants to get across, without it being to the other side like the Overstory, which is like, it's about trees, but it's really not about trees.
Is that what it's been compared to? Because I know...
Stupid comparison.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get really defensive like this.
No. You can say what you like.
I really like the Overstory, but again, I kind of went into it being like, it's a book about trees, and then very quickly realizing like, oh, the trees are kind of like the backdrop to all of this. That's how he's like set it up, and then in regards to how you move from the roots to the trunks to the crown, and then to the seed, which is the wider development of that story. He's kind of using the extended metaphor and how all trees interconnect with their roots and how crown shyness and kind of reflecting that within the characters. Very interesting. This is a story about a dolphin.
Yeah.
And Paul's kind of like, that is what it's about. And the animal world is cruel, but there's an element above that EA doesn't know about, which is crueler.